Is it on? Is it on?
It doesn't have to be here, but like
Am I
somewhere.
going to hear it? It's not coming through speakers.
No, you don't get
So
the
I'm not
headphones.
I'm not gonna know like.
No, we'll know in post.
Okay,
so.
we'll know in post. But generally speaking,
Like right here is good.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for stopping
All
by,
right.
Leah
Yeah.
Wilson.
Thank you for having me. I mean, this is great.
An advocate for AI. No, I'm joking. I thought we'd start off with a little zinger like that.
Right.
No.
Now I really don't know how to answer.
No, thank you for dropping by. You are the executive director for Kidzeum. I don't think I've ever known as many executive directors since I came to Springfield. Like everybody's a lot of people are executive directors. So I'm trying to figure out what that means. What does an executive director mean?
I don't know what it means either.
Okay.
Some people say, "Oh, you run the Kidzeum," and I'm like, "No, I think it runs me." Really?
Okay.
So I'm just the person who keeps showing up and trying to make things happen over there. But yeah.
So you've been there almost 10 years.
8.
8 years.
Yep. 8 years.
2018, right?
Yep.
Okay. What's one of the biggest takeaways you've learned from? We're going to get into all the Kidzeum, but like you say, these last 8 years, you've walked through COVID. You're walking through a cultural rejuvenation through downtown, or at least you're trying to spearhead that. What's something you say? This is a couple takeaways I've learned from this time here.
Everybody says this probably, but you really do just have to keep showing up because it's going to be hard. You're going to face challenges. You're not going to know if you're going to make it. And I think that's the story of Kidzeum, right? Because Kidzeum was definitely a startup and still is, I think, a startup. We're not 10 years old yet. So I feel like, we're still just trying to find our stride. Not only as an organization, but just in the community and really to understand what the community wants and needs from us. And, you throw big challenges in there, like trying to have a children's museum in the middle of downtown. That's a bit of a challenge. Trying to survive COVID when, children's museums were really hit hard and we were closed for almost 16 months. I had to lay off my entire staff practically, and I dropped down to half time. And probably one of the saddest days of my career where I really almost felt broken was the day where I met with my staff and they handed in their keys. And I went back up to my office and I put this pile of keys on my desk and I looked at it and I just cried. Because an organization is about the people. And when you don't have your team and your people, what are you?
I almost never talk about this publicly because I got death threats from this while I was here in town. And we had a daycare. And when I came here, when I was interviewing, the way nobody was being deceptive, but the way the book showed was something different than the way you walked into it and saw it. And we were hemorrhaging like $12,000 a month. And for our organization, that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
And I had to be the face of this decision, though I had like literally no bearing on how that came to be, because it was 5, 6, 7 years in the 5 years in the making. And I remember saying that to people, and I still carry some of those wounds with me because as you talk about the keys, it's a tough thing to look at people and with bad news, and it's tough to give them change their trajectory. It's tough. It's just tough. That's leadership, and it's very, very tough. I don't want to do that ever again in my life. I'm not built for that.
well, you say you're not built for that, but here you are. And aren't you a stronger person? Aren't you a better leader because you went through that?
I don't know. I think I'm an Enneagram 4. I don't know if you're like that.
Actually, I do know the Enneagram. Okay,
I'm a super creative person, so I take everything very personally, and emotions are swirling strong in here.
Huge.
And I know that's something I would hope to never do again. So I don't want to be. It's not that I want to be everyone's friends. It's just my wife is really good at compartmentalizing. I am not. Like when I look at my journal during that year, it's like Woo. It's like
Yeah.
Van Gogh cutting off my ear there.
Oh,
so, okay, so you are the Kidzeum executive director. Been there for about 8 years. So you recently just got a Natural Science Foundation grant, which I think is totally rad. Like a national foundation is like, hey, we're investing here
Yeah.
in Springfield. Okay, here's my question. How hard was it to convince a national organization to do something in Springfield?
You know, I'll probably never know completely the answer to that, but I have to say, sometimes you just luck out. And I think this was one of those times, because it was a confluence of events that made it possible for us to get that grant. The first was, there was a woman who was bringing her kids to our after-school program, and someone happened to mention to me, oh yeah, she's getting her PhD from Northwestern in learning sciences. And I went, zoop, like, I want to talk to her.
Yeah.
And she was so bright and so energetic about how informal science learning can transform kids' lives. And what we could do at Kidzeum, I thought, okay, this is perfect. Like, I've got to get her on my board. And so I did ask for her to join the board. Her name is Amy Chang. And one of the things that I aspired to was a National Science Foundation grant, just because, you know, when I got to Kidzeum, and especially dealing with COVID, I realized if all we are is a luxury item, we're the easiest thing to dismiss and to cut as not necessary. But if people see that we are integral to the learning ecosystem and that we really can play an important role in education, especially in STEM and STEAM, then maybe we can make more of a difference, and maybe, you know, it helps just with our own sustainability. And so a National Science Foundation grant just gives you that credibility, right? That you're doing something that is more on the cutting edge. And so she went back to her peers at Northwestern and convinced two of her colleagues who are on the cutting edge of informal science learning to come and visit. And we had a meeting, and they got excited about a grant. They had worked with other museums in Chicago.
Yeah.
So one is, you know, one of our PIs on the grant is David Uddle from Northwestern, and the
What's
other.
a PI? I don't know what a PI.
Sorry, primary investigator.
Okay.
Thank you. And the second is Catherine Hayden, and she's from Loyola. And so we've just got these heavy hitters, and you know, they did the heavy lifting on this grant. I didn't. You know, I've written a lot of grants, but a National Science Foundation grant's kind of in its own category.
Right.
And you have to know, you really have to know the research and the literature, and there's a certain way of, you know, putting a grant like that together that makes it different and more complicated than other grants. And so I'm just so fortunate for all of those people taking interest in what we were trying to do at Kidzeum. And then
so what do you think this does to the Kidzeum? Like, what do you think this does to y'all's trajectory, your history? You say you're a startup, so like, what does this do now for the trajectory of Kidzeum?
You know, I do have a bit of a community organizing background. Anything that I do, I want it to serve the community. I want the community to see their fingerprints all over it. I want them to feel like it's theirs. And so the project is to co-design with the community a center for STEAM education. And, you know, what does that mean? Well, it could be that there are new exhibits, obviously. There could be programs that are just more on the cutting edge thanks to our collaboration with these incredible researchers, right? I mean, part of, I think, what a museum does that it doesn't always happen in other spaces is that you can bring cutting edge research and the public together in this space, you know, and the museum can interpret these things in a way and create experiences in a way that is really meaningful and engaging and playful in our case.
So what would be cutting edge? Like, what would be an example?
It's really cutting edge for me is like in
Well, is
the
it to
outcomes.
you or is it to the foundation?
To me, it's in the outcomes,
Okay.
and I would say to the foundation, it's the outcomes.
Okay.
I mean, what they want is they want to prepare more kids to enter the STEM and STEAM fields, right? They want an educated workforce. They want the United States, to excel in science and technology and engineering, right? And I guess, then for our community, what does that mean? I mean, it gives us an opportunity to raise our science scores, to get kids excited about pursuing careers that they may not have thought they could do before. Maybe it improves their quality of life, to have a career that's challenging and lucrative.
I think you get. I was thinking a lot about the Kidzeum, and I walked with it through with Elisa, and it's a permission slip to dream. And
I love that. Can I use that?
Sure, go for it. It's like I saw a little lab coat, and I was like, it's a permission slip to maybe think about yourself as someone who's a pharmacist or a doctor, and so you're really doing some of that important work. Play, I think, is very important. I think we're starting to grasp it, but play has been very, very disregarded in the educational system. So you're kind of like stepping into that, right? That's amazing.
So, I'm going to date myself very quickly here, but I'm a child of the 70s, right? And that was a very different time to grow up.
Okay.
And
was it though different than the 80s? I don't know.
I don't know if it was that different from the 80s,
Okay.
But you just had, I think, a lot more freedom in general.
Yeah.
And the research is bearing that out. So,
100%.
I mean, we know that since the 70s, kids' opportunities to play without having adults hovering around them, telling them what to do, unstructured play, has dropped by 50%, So what are the consequences of that? I mean, I think we're just starting to see the consequences of that, right? And the benefits of unstructured play where kids are learning in a social way, and they can do that in a museum. Kids are making mistakes, they're falling down on the playground, they're building a tower and it's falling down. Those kinds of experiences teach kids a lot that build this context for learning that I don't think we always appreciate. And I had this wonderful conversation with a couple of teachers last week, and they were telling me about all these programs that they can bring into the classroom for STEM. And I was like, well, geez, I don't, why would they need us at this point? There are all these programs out there. And so I just asked her, I said, so if you have all these things that can come to you in the classroom, is there still value in bringing kids to a museum? And she said, absolutely, it levels the playing field for learning. And I asked her, I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, here's one example. We were giving a science test, and there was a question about an elevator button, like it's a word problem. But they're talking about elevator buttons, and this kid in the class raises his hand and he says, well, I've never been on an elevator. I don't know how to answer this question. And so her point was, not all kids get to go to children's museums.
Right.
Not all kids go anywhere at all, really, beyond school, home. They may not even get to the other side of town. And so if you can get kids into a children's museum or a zoo, where they get to build this context for learning, then it opens up doors for them. You mentioned putting on a lab coat or the helmet to go into space. I mean, these are the
At
cool...
this point, I also want them to be farmers. I don't know if we'll have land anymore, but I do hope they become farmers.
Well, you're gonna touch on another great passion of mine, because
data centers. You're for data centers?
No.
I know you're not.
Not data centers as a topic. I'm not even going to touch that. But
I don't want it.
No, it's before I got into museums, I was in sustainable agriculture work, and so I'm a very local food system oriented kind of person, and
it's probably why we have so many health problems, because we're not locally. I mean, you can't have 17,000 chickens in a coop and then expect us all to be healthy.
Yeah.
Just full stop.
Yeah. I mean, I was the intermediary connecting local farmers with food buyers like restaurants and,
Right.
institutions. And I would go and visit these farms. And for a while, I actually had a hobby farm too, with my own chickens and ducks and goats and all of it,
Okay. I'd always
and
love
it was-
a goat. Just I don't have to lawn mow. Do
Oh,
any of the
you
mowing. I love a
think
goat.
you would love a goat?
I want a baby goat because what are those ones that like the goat that you can scare them and they just fall
the
over?
fainting goats.
The fainting goat.
Yeah.
That will be that's an aspirational goal of mine at some point. So okay, so getting back to all the Kidzeum, you're passionate about it. Like you
Very.
are very, very passionate about it. You live it, you breathe it. Help me understand, because you have also said STEM and STEAM. The foundation, the grant that you got, is it for STEAM
Yes.
or STEM?
STEAM.
Okay, because you
It's-
said STEM and STEAM.
I
a
know.
lot.
I confuse a lot of people.
Yeah. So you will
and
have
it's-
an active center for the A. You're
For
putting
STEAM,
the A in.
we're putting the A in, which is art,
and you're going to have like spaces, or are you
Yeah.
going to have like a new wing, or what does that mean for this A?
well, the community gets to decide that, right? And for
I didn't
all
know
of it,
that.
not
What does
just
that
not
mean?
just the A, right?
Okay.
But this is when you co-design with the community. The
Oh,
community.
so when you say co-design, it means there's a structured plan with our community.
Absolutely.
I didn't catch that in any of the articles.
No,
that I
so
read about you.
the community, we're bringing cohorts in for one-on-one meetings, for group meetings. We have surveys. We're doing Zoom meetings. We're, really not only trying to say, give us your feedback and then we'll consider it and then we'll make the decisions. It's really including the community in every single step of the
Okay.
planning process
Okay.
and assessing.
That feels. Is that a requirement by the foundation?
That is what the grant is all about, is to create this co-design model.
Interesting.
And hopefully something that other communities would be able to replicate in their own spaces. But part of what we know about museums is that not everybody feels like museums are for them. They don't see their stories there, right? They're spaces for some, but not spaces for all. And so the only way to combat that is to say, come to the table, and let's do this together.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you what,
Are you going to document
it's
this?
messy.
I hope you document
It's
this, because
messy.
that's a really interesting model to bring people in. I hope you video and photograph it, because it's a really, I think that's a very important thing to whatever we do as far as Springfield moving forward, to hear people and have that space reimagined. I think that could be kind of cool. That's cool.
And it's not just reimagining the space.
Or reimagining the design, not design, but the structure, the curriculum.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a 5,000 square foot hotel that has been vacant for decades. You'd love it. It's called the Old Cliff Hotel. It's got, a really interesting history in Springfield. It's like a lot of historic places downtown, right? You walk downtown and you have no idea that there's this space up there
Yeah.
on the second floor and that no one has seen it. No one's been in it, for
Oh, it's not
30
at
years.
your space now. You're
It
doing
is.
it. Okay.
It is, but so we have 412 East Adams and then 414 and 416.
Oh, okay.
And so the primary buildings in 412, we recently, with an IDNR grant, Department of Natural Resources,
Yeah.
renovated 2 of those spaces that were retail spaces for decades, right? And
You
they're
are just a grant machine, aren't you?
well, I wish I could write more grants than I do, but I would never sleep. But we have about 2,200 square feet on the lower level now
Yeah.
that can be used for this Center for STEAM.
Okay.
And then this hotel above it that is incredible. When I came to interview for this job, I was probably more excited about the hotel than
Yeah.
anywhere else, because it's just architecturally really interesting. And then how to interpret that in a way that honors
Yeah.
the history and the people who occupied that space. I talked to some local artists about the significance of that, and then have been really inspired by some artists outside of our area. Mostly San Diego, San Francisco for the moment.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah,
That
but
looks like a place with culture, so that's good.
yeah, I mean, there are just I'm a buy fresh, buy local, girl,
Yeah.
but then I'm also really interested in bringing the outside in
Sure.
and bringing in fresh ideas from other places as well, and showcasing some of this national talent that we have, because I think it's also important for people in Springfield, love
experience. Yeah.
your town,
Yeah.
but also, get a taste of what's happening in other places.
So that's actually kind of one of the things I thought about when I was kind of looking you up, and you came from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I don't know. I know nothing about Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Is there a college there? Sounds like there's a college.
Co-college, yep.
Co-college. But they invest heavily in the arts, heavily in culture. You're here in Springfield. What does it look like? Here was the question. You had like this massive staff there. You had all these things. I was looking at your onboarding Illinois Times article. How do you lead when the ecosystem feels just exhausted here in Springfield?
How do you lead?
Yeah. Because you're talking about bringing my passion is go to San Diego. Passion is go to San Francisco. I like all this culture. I don't know. Here's my 2 cents. I'm a total outsider to Springfield. I feel like Springfield has a wonderful history, though there are some deeply, deeply checkered parts.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I would say is we're surviving instead of dreaming, and it almost feels like we don't deserve to have good things.
Mm-hmm.
That's my that's my take. Is like culturally, it's like we just haven't given ourselves permission to like the good things.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me in trouble.
Please do.
Okay, so, and I'm not the only one to say it, right? But
Okay.
Kind of my take on it
Depends.
sometimes
Are you like coming at me on it, or are you
No.
okay?
Is that Springfield is the okayest city in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And I think we work too hard to protect the status quo. And we really have so much untapped potential in this city.
I totally agree.
When I moved here 8 years ago, and I was exploring the downtown, looking around, and I saw the old state capitol, the new capitol, all these great historic landmarks, and I was like, where are the awesome flats? Like, where are the great condos and apartments and the rooftop cafes and bars? And where are the people?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the people? And that was pre-COVID. And now post-COVID, and there have been, again, so many forces at work here, right? And we all know a lot of them,
Right.
but state jobs, losing state jobs. I mean, there's been a whole confluence of events that have gotten us to this point. And we're not the only city in the United States that is facing these issues, But I was just puzzled about just the lack of development in the most awesome part of the city, which
Totally
is arguably downtown, where all the history is, where Lincoln's legacy is, where the greatest stories can be told, where the coolest buildings are, where you just wanna hang out. And you can have a great, convenient experience on the west side of town,
Sure.
in a strip mall.
Yeah.
But I don't know that really feeds your soul the way coming downtown and walking the same paths that Lincoln walked can do.
Well, downtown's the heart of a city.
Yeah.
Right? And so I would say our city is just okay, like you said. Like, love it, but we just have not figured that path out to drive culture, energy. We having glimpses, though. That's what's crazy to me, because Levitt Amp, 2,000 people will come down. That whole narrative about it's not safe, they'll come down for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll bring their kids, and they'll have fun. And, like, it boggles my mind, honestly. That's part of why I started this podcast.
But that's, I hear that a lot. And again, so
I hear it all the time.
I'm the kind of person who's going to say we've got to hold two truths at once here.
Sure.
There are some incredible assets downtown that are worth protecting. And there are amazing things happening downtown that are often overlooked and undercelebrated. No doubt about it. But we've got some big issues in downtown, and it's going to take big thinkers and big dreamers and probably big money and big plans and big implementation to get where we know we can go.
Feels
but
like
it's
you
possible.
need to take a more central role.
No, I don't think so. But
Why not, though? Here, I asked Brian Galecki. He came through. I love Brian. Brian's got some. I mean, a lot of places are trying to find their way forward. He opened up another shop down in the White Oaks Mall, and I said, Brian, why are you not on any of these boards? And he said this great answer. He goes, my contribution to downtown is to be the best record store I could be. And I thought, man, what an answer. He needs to be on the shape. He needs to shape it. But I love what you're a grant writing machine. You have a vision. You got my vote.
Well,
it matters
thank
none.
you.
I carry maybe my family, but you got my vote.
Well, it's going to take everybody showing up however they can.
It's going to take someone not being liked by the community. There's going to be some really loud voices against whoever that is.
No doubt about it.
And you just have to have tough skin because somebody's going to walk out of there hated, but they'll be really great for the city. I believe that full stop.
I actually think that to turn it, somebody's probably going to have to run to fail. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
They're going to have to run to fail, and they're going to have to shake things up.
Yeah.
In a way that is going to make everybody uncomfortable for a while. And
I agree.
And we're going to have to live with that tension and work through that tension until we have a creative solution that garners enough energy and support that we can start to move in a different direction.
You named exactly what I felt. Somebody has to run to fail. I think that's 100% true. Being downtown for the last couple of years, you nailed that. Because any kind of big movement, it seems dangerous before it's necessary. Mm-hmm. So, awesome. Okay, last couple questions here because you are passionate about a lot of things, and we could probably spend a whole podcast talking about a bunch of other things. What was the most wonderful, or what was your favorite exhibit you brought to Kidzeum?
I love our Route 66 exhibit. I'm just going to say, it's
was
hard.
Was that the AI logo one?
That is, of course, it's a big anniversary year for Route 66, but it celebrates something that's so special about Springfield and the United States. And it harkens back to a different era, right, where you were driving through and experiencing things in a different way than we do now. And so I love that exhibit. I think it's really popular. The other one, though, that I think has resonated a lot, and we're going to try to bring something similar back to the museum next year, is a pollinator exhibit. So we've got that mural.
An apiarist?
In our
is that what they are? Is like the beehive?
Beekeeper.
Yeah.
So
I've got a great apiarist.
Do you?
No, but that's a quote off The Office.
Okay. We created our own exhibit in 2019 called Bees, Butterflies, and Blooms, and we worked with Arvin Pierce, who's a beekeeper, and just one of the most phenomenal human beings on the planet, in my personal opinion. He's just one of those people that you should have on your podcast, actually.
Okay, I would love that.
And you need to celebrate. Everyone needs to celebrate Arvin.
He could dress up in the white, the suit too.
He won't do that. You know why?
Why?
Because he doesn't wear one.
Whoa!
He gets into the beehives without
That's
gear.
a different mindset in an individual who's not going to wear. Wow.
And not only that, for this exhibit that we're planning next year, he has a 7-year-old granddaughter, and he showed me this video and it was like okay, everyone, do not try this at home. Do not do this with your children, kind of thing. But she's 7 years old. She just has her backpack on, she just got off the bus, and she's got a leaf, and he's opened up this beehive, and she's just poking around in there with the leaves, and I'm going, oh my gosh, and she's completely fearless, and everything is fine. And so much of that is your energy and your mindset, the bees seem to pick up on that, and I just want to tell that story.
You think bees pick up on your mindset?
You talk to Arvin.
Oh,
that
they're
your emotions.
they're attacking you no matter what.
I'll tell you what, my bees try to kill me, so I don't know what that says about me.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think
All right.
the beehive that we had at Kidzeum in 2019 was one of the best experiences.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
and we're going to try to bring that back because
Yeah.
it engages not only the kids, but it engages
The adults,
any
too.
adult.
And the creativity. Curiosity is. What did I write? I had another little punchy line there. Curiosity is a community resource. So
I like that. I like that a
I think
lot.
when you do the beehive like that, you're cultivating and enhancing our community resource. Last question: if money was no option, what exhibit would you bring?
You know, I don't know that there's any one singular idea that, in terms of content, that comes to mind. It's really, for me, if money were no object, how could we use the space that we have at Kidzeum, which is this incredible historic
So amazing.
building? How could we use the hotel and create something that is so unique and special that it doesn't exist anywhere else, and that it truly reflects not only our community, but just some of the best gifts we have in the nation, you know, celebrates great artists, celebrates great scientists and thinkers, and makes it approachable and exciting. You know, that would be what I would try to create.
Okay. That is not the answer I'd expect from you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do you want me to try again?
No. I picture you as someone who's like already knows 17 different things in your mind in the file cabinet, and you're like, oh, this is what I was gonna do. And
Yeah,
so-
you know, I could say something like that, but then
Yeah.
I wouldn't be staying true to the mission, which is the community needs to shape this with us.
I
The
like
the
that.
community is going to tell us what goes in that space. And
Okay.
so I can have all kinds of ideas about it, and I think,
Wow.
you called me an executive director. I kind of see myself more as an executive connector, and facilitator. And it's really that collaboration. It's those moments where you connect people, you connect ideas.
You're a cultural architect.
And I love that.
I had a Diet Coke before we came. I'm just pouring
You're
these out.
just on it.
I didn't even write that one down.
So that's really it. Of course I have ideas, but it's
Okay.
what I'm the most interested in is what our community is going to show us and bring to the table that then we can showcase to the rest of the world.
I really appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Did we cover everything that you wanted to cover on
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Appreciate it.
I think also I'm very glad you're in our community, because I think you're doing some really great work with not only your shaping Kidzeum, but shaping our city as well.
Well, I'm very humbled by that.
Yeah.
Not sure I deserve all of that, but I appreciate it, and I really appreciate your role in the community as a convener and a communicator and a collaborator, and just bringing some authentic voices to Springfield. Bringing people to light who don't normally seek the stage,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're part of this fabric that makes our community the wonderful place that it is, with all of the challenges that it has, and the things that we could say we want to improve. I mean, I love it here, and this is a place that's worth investing in. That's really, the bottom line for me is it's worth doing the hard work here.
Springfield's worth investing in.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thanks for stopping
All
by.
right. Thanks.